So today I was talking about bounded accuracy as a mechanical construct, a design philosophy, if you will. And I thought, it's a shame I've already done a video on bounded accuracy because I have a lot to say about it. And then I thought, wait, have I? Turns out I haven't. I'm sure I've mentioned it, but I haven't done a video on bounded accuracy. And so today I am. Bounded accuracy, what be it? Bounded accuracy is the idea that numbers don't go up that high as far as when relying on like dice rolls and difficulties and target numbers and things like that. They don't escalate beyond what is max level characters aren't rolling with bigger numbers significantly than first level characters. At the start of the campaign, the number that you are adding to a roll should be about the same throughout all levels of play. This allows for, in terms of D&D, because it accomplishes a lot of things in other games that use it, and I'll get to that in a moment. But in terms of D&D, it allows specifically monsters to remain viable and relevant throughout a greater span of play. Your first level goblins are just as hard to hit at level 1 as they are at level 20. So you can just put in more goblins. The difference being that damage numbers usually go up as you increase in level. Hit points usually go up as you increase in level. So using low-level monsters allows you to sort of wade through a sea of bad guys who have basically become minions, functionally have. If you got 5 hit points at level 20, you're basically a minion. There's not a lot of difference between 5 hit points and 1 hit point at that level. There is some difference, because there's still a lot of things that don't deal 5 damage minimum, that are sort of meant for minion clearing. But anyways, so this is the advantage of bounded accuracy, and also it prevents this sort of, it's not even a feel-bad moment, but it is a sort of breaking of immersion where your bonuses go up at the same rate as the difficulty, and so it doesn't feel like, there is someone floating around, what is that? Anyways, there's a ghost in the background. So it doesn't feel like your numbers are actually improving. It feels like you're just keeping up. The number treadmill is what it's sometimes referred to. This can be kind of immersion breaking. My ability scores go up and my half-level bonus goes up in 4th edition, or my level goes up in Pathfinder. Your stats go up at a specified prescribed level and a prescribed rate, but the difficulty goes up at the same rate and at the same levels. So it doesn't really feel like you're making any progress because everything scales with the players in order to keep things relatively fair. To make it so that like you aren't immediately wiping the floor with monsters that are continuing to be of appropriate level. There are things you can do to mitigate this in a system that doesn't have bounded accuracy, but we're not talking about those. Today we're talking about what does bounded accuracy do and how does 5th edition use it? Because 5th edition, I had never heard the term bounded accuracy before the 5th edition playtests. They touted it as this new design philosophy because people were kind of annoyed. Some people were annoyed. I wasn't so much annoyed. But people were kind of annoyed, some people, at how quickly the numbers got out of control. For reference, I just did the math earlier today. In 4th edition, a skill check could get up to about a plus 45 at absolute max level with full investment and everything going for you. You get about a plus 45, mid-40s in that range. An attack roll could easily get into the mid-30s, maybe upper 30s if it's a weapon attack. And so these numbers, because they are bigger than the die roll, were seen as overshadowing the die roll. Ignoring, of course, that AC, like the DC for these checks and the ACs and the defenses, they're going up at the same time. So you do actually still need the die roll. You're still hitting at around roughly the same range of numbers that you were at first level. it varies a little bit, and it depends kind of on how your party is built at higher levels. Obviously, you can have a lot more teamwork, a lot more tools for giving yourself temporary bonuses. And so these kinds of things mean that you actually are more powerful relative to the monster than you were at first level. PCs do scale faster than the monsters, to be honest. Although, looking at the raw numbers, you might not think that, because the raw numbers don't show you teamwork. They don't show you, like, various power bonuses and things like that. So, what was I getting at? So people didn't like how big the numbers got. They thought the numbers were bloated, they were out of control, they were unreasonable, which is sort of, in my opinion, approaching the game from the wrong standpoint. The numbers are basically just there to make things work. They don't need to be in a particular, like, there's no difference mechanically between having a plus 10 to hit at a DC 20 and having a plus 0 to hit at a DC 10. There isn't a difference. You're still hitting on a 10 on the die. So, but this conceptually upset people. It was aesthetically displeasing to a certain audience. That audience, I think, largely being people who didn't play 4th edition to begin with. So, since 5th edition is an apology edition, they did away with that. And they said, we're going to have bounded accuracy. We're going to set some pretty hard bounds on how high your bonuses can get. And DCs and AC and whatnot is not going to scale too much. You know, like maybe plus 5-ish over the course of all 20 levels. Okay. First off, that's not super bounded accuracy. It's like limited bounded accuracy. But I guess it would get the job done, right? If your bonuses only went up by about 5, your total modifiers to the rolls only went up by about 5 over the course of 20 levels, that would be a significantly reduced amount of treadmill and would keep the math working pretty much the same. Now, people have been doing stuff like this in 4th edition for a long time. I say a long time. 4th edition actually only lasted like 4 years, didn't it? So if for a significant portion of the lifespan of the game, people have thought about, it's super easy to just reduce or to remove the half level bonus altogether. You cut out 15 of the modifier by end of game. And you have, you know, basically things just scale with everything else. You could do inherent bonuses so that you don't need to use magic items. I've already talked about that. You know, you can cut down the treadmill quite a bit in 4th edition very easily, and the numbers still work very easily because monster math is so simple that instead of getting +1 to everything per level, you just get +1 per 2 levels. Easy. You could do that in your head. 5th edition comes along and says, all right, AC is going to start at around 15-ish. It's going to go up to about 20-ish in that range for monsters. You know, your AC, like 20 is a good AC, like 20 is an outstanding AC at first level, and it's still a good AC at 20th level. That kind of approach. The problem being that since the designers weren't really on the ball and weren't really paying attention to what they were doing, and apparently weren't all on the same page, 5th edition actually doesn't have bounded accuracy. And in fact, has less bounded accuracy than 4th edition does. Because like I was saying, an attack roll in 4th edition can go up to about the mid to upper 30s. A skill check can get to about the mid 40s. But a skill check in 5th edition can go significantly higher. Especially when you're talking about stealth, which is an outlier since it has a few things that give it ridiculous bonuses. Like hide in plain sight from the ranger. You've got pass without trace. Obviously, everyone knows about pass without trace. You can get a stealth check into the 90s. The plus 90s. Like, that's ridiculous. You are hiding from the god of perception at that point. I am spitting all over my camera. Nah! It's like, these are ridiculous numbers. Numbers you would never see in 4th edition. You would never see numbers like this in 4th edition. Impossible to achieve. And yet, it can be done in 5th edition, which has bounded accuracy. because it doesn't actually have bounded accuracy. You can get your AC so high that the highest hit bonus that monsters ever have can only hit you on a nat 20. You can get your attack bonus so high that the monsters with the highest AC, you only miss them on a 1. You can bump your numbers up because the system isn't designed. You can bump them up to that level of ridiculousness because the system isn't designed to handle that many bonuses, but it still offers them. You know, you've got, adding to skill checks, you've got guidance, you've got the peace cleric ability, which granted did come later. You've got, spells, you've got bardic inspiration, you've got, flash of inspiration. You've got all these things that just sort of throw on, you've got, you know, expertise. You've got, reliable talent to help fix your die rolls. You can only roll, a 10 or above. You've got all these things that add to your skills so that you can bump your numbers up. And it's a good thing, I guess, that in 5th edition, skills just aren't that important. The system never really relies on skills being a thing, except in a few specific instances. So there's a few skills that are important. Most of the skills are not important. Stealth happens to be one of the very important ones. Stealth, perception, acrobatics, because it factors into a lot of, like, escaping grabs and stuff like that. So anyways, what I'm getting at here, which I seem to be saying in a lot of videos, is that I go off on a ramble and then I'm like, let's get back to the subject. What I'm getting at, the point I'm trying to make, the thing I'm laying down here, if you want to pick it up, is that 5th edition actually doesn't have bounded accuracy at all. In a way, it wants to have bounded accuracy. It kind of acts as if it does, but it really doesn't. It just doesn't account for the amount of unbounded accuracy that it offers. Because who doesn't like to get big bonuses to things, right? Plus, you know, what is the difference between getting +4 over the course of 20 levels versus getting 15 over the course of 30 levels? You know, it's not that different. And that is the two different things that scale. Except that because in 5th edition, your proficiency bonus starts at a +2 and goes up to a +6, which is a difference of 4 across 20 levels. It's actually across a little bit less because you get that you go up to a +6 at, like, what, 17. And then in 4th edition, you get a total of +15 across 30 levels. The big difference is that in 4th edition, you get that +15 to everything. You don't have to be proficient in it. That's just a flat bonus for being a more seasoned adventurer. You are a hero. You've been out adventuring. You're going to be better at everything you do. In 5th edition, you only get that +4. Well, actually, I mean, because that does make a difference then, because it starts at a +2 to things that you are proficient in, and then goes up to a +6, which makes a 6-point gap between what you are proficient in and what you're not. Things that you are not proficient in, things that you're not investing in, don't scale at all, which is bounded accuracy. But then you have the proficiency bonus that, you see what a mess this is? The way that it's trying to have bounded accuracy and also not at the same time, it wants, how did I describe it one time? It's not that 5e wants to have a cake and eat it too. It's that it wants to eat a cake and forgot to make one. Like, it just didn't do bounded accuracy at all, but then tries to act as though it does, and then doesn't support that at all. It's actually crazy. Because people still, to this day, talk about how 5e has bounded accuracy and what a good system that is. But it doesn't, and it never did. I want to say at some point in the playtest it did. But as far as, like, during release, like starting from 2014 when the Player's Handbook was released, it hasn't. Bounded accuracy has never been part of the system on release. But people still talk about it. People still give 5e credit for inventing bounded accuracy, and it didn't. And here's the thing I was talking about earlier, is that other RPGs do bounded accuracy. This is a thing in the RPG market, and 5e did not invent it. This has been happening since even before 4th edition. A lot of systems have bounded accuracy where your bonuses don't increase, basically at all in many cases. And the target numbers don't increase at all. You've got this in Powered by the Apocalypse. You've got this in Blades in the Dark. You've got this in things like what's another, any frickin' example at all besides those two that I always bring up. But you see what I mean, is that, like, your bonuses at character creation are usually about the same as they are at the end of the campaign. They might be like one off, one different. But there's no like automatic time where like, okay, you get a +1 to everything. It doesn't happen. If you want to be better at something, you really have to invest, and you feel the benefit of that because the target numbers haven't increased. It's just like your actual chances of success have gone up. So anyways, you can do that. You just have to bake it into the system, and D&D never has, and I don't think ever will. I made the observation today that it would probably be a bigger fundamental change to the way that the game is built if the game actually did go into a bounded accuracy system like that, where, like, you know, at first level, the same as 20th level, for the entire campaign, you know, you have, like, you know, DC 10 is easy, DC 15 is medium, DC 20 is hard. And that never changed because your numbers didn't go up at a regular steady rate to make those numbers actually trivial. Whereas if you try that in 5th edition, they will be. A DC 20 skill check in 5th edition is hard at first level and trivial by level 20, if it's anything that you've decided to invest in at all. And oftentimes, you don't have to do skill checks if you don't want to anyways, because you have spells that just get by whatever it is that's requiring a skill check. So anyways, that's my thing on bounded accuracy. I'm shocked, frankly, that I haven't done a video on it before. But that's why it's taken so long, because I thought I already did. Like, it's such a basic idea. Why would I not have done a video on this? I guess just because, I don't know. I failed my skill check to remember. I don't know. Leave me alone.